Good evening. We call to order the February 3rd, 2014 meeting of the BUHS District 6 Board. Welcome, everyone. And tonight we will start, as announced, with a proposed budget public information meeting, an opportunity for the public to ask questions about the budget, which we will be considering at the annual meeting next week, and provide input. This is the third time that we've actually reviewed the basics of the budget on TV, as a matter of fact. I'll go briefly through the operating expense part of the budget, and I'll ask Jim Kane to do a brief overview of the revenue and fund usage part of the budget. And then we'll go from there and see if there are any questions. So, once again, this year, we present a budget that is level service. Every fall, we get together with the administrators, and the board gives them direction as to what basically we want to see in a budget. And the way things have been over the last few years, we have asked that services be leveled, and once again we have done that. And once again, the administrators have found innovative ways to get the job done. We have a charge to give our kids the best education we possibly can, and the education they deserve. But we also have to be mindful of the immense pressure on taxpayers, who, by the way, have been consistently supportive of our efforts over the year. We really appreciate that, have been understanding of what we're trying to accomplish. And we owe it to them to carefully scrutinize the budget. The Board Budget Committee has reviewed each of the 3 unit budgets, BUHS, BAMS, and the Career Center, basically line by line over a course of many meetings in November and December, and has also reviewed the special education budget, the district-wide budget, which is the items that cover all 3 units, such as operations, maintenance, safety, security, and so forth, and also the capital plan. It basically discretionary items, which are those things that we have the ability to manage carefully, have been. Somebody didn't get a card. So Russ, sorry. Discretionary items, pencils, books, equipment, have once again leveled in almost all departments. And it's quite a few years we've been doing this, and it gets to be a challenge, but it's been done again. We do have negotiated contract increases for staff that are included in the budget. But in spite of that, we were able to come in with what we feel is a sound, responsible budget, and it meets the needs of the district. And I'm going to go through very quickly by the main units, but first I'd like to start off with some comments on enrollment. There's a lot of talk from the state, various people, and in the media about declining enrollment in Vermont, and the fact that enrollment is dropping significantly, has dropped significantly, yet expenses are not dropping accordingly. So I think it's pertinent to see where we are. And basically the enrollment for District 6 has now, after some years of dropping, has leveled off, and we project next year that there will actually be a slight increase in the number of students at BAMS. BUHS will be pretty close to today's number, perhaps down a few, and the Career Center projections are for to remain about the same as this year. The Career Center serves about 300 BOHS students and about 40 students from the what we call sending towns. So basically, if you will, our customer base is steady, and there are projections that it has leveled off and will not necessarily go into a major increase, but at least level off and perhaps increase a little bit over the next couple of years. So with that in mind, I'd like to refer to page 39 in the big book. And if you prefer to use the little book, I think it's like page 7 or something like that. And these books, by the way, have been out and are around in various spots. Page 7 in the skinny book. I apologize for last time reading off a different set of papers and having a little different page numbers, but hopefully we can go through this all be on the same page, so to speak. So just briefly, looking at the units that we're responsible for, it starts out at the top with district-wide, and again, that includes such things as health services, the library, security, and that budget is up about 2.86%. A good share of that is in operations and maintenance. This brand new facility isn't brand new anymore. We keep thinking of it as our great new high school, but parts of it have been in operation for 10 years now. So at that period of time, you start to get situations where you have to do some maintenance, and we have a lot of people that are in and out of this place every day. So we have put in a little bit more for planned maintenance, about an extra $88,000. Another thing that's part of this budget is we've transferred the Asian Studies, some monies for the Asian Studies program from the high school modern classical language to the district, because that program actually serves more than just the high school. So the district-wide budget is up a little bit. It includes a capital lease, a 5-year capital lease for renovating the telephone system, some computer technology, and an additional bus. Moving to the senior high is actually down 2.39%, and that is in spite of the fact that we have maintained all the programs that we had last year, because they were worthwhile programs. There's a couple of additions there, and 2 of them are, I think, pretty exciting. And one is the summer school program, which we did allow some money for. It was started last year and cobbled together, I think, with grant money and a little money here and a little money there. It was very successful for 9th graders and incoming 9th graders and some 9th graders that needed and wanted some extra opportunities. And then also, particular exciting to me is 2 academies that we will start up next year. The STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math Academy, and if I can get this one right, I'll be lucky. The FVPA Academy, which is Fine, Visual, and Performing Arts Academies. That'll be done in conjunction with the Career Center, and basically will be budget neutral for next year. We're able to get these academies rolling without any additional expenses. But this is an opportunity to provide some young folks with an extra, what do you call it on their diploma? Designation or whatever, and an opportunity to focus on some areas that are in big demand. So we're very pleased with that. One of the reasons that we are able to do that and still have the senior high budget go down a little bit is that we have had an active retirement incentive program over the last few years, and that's made a difference there. The next major section is WRCC tuition, and that's basically what the district pays the Career Center for tuition, and that's based on the projected number of students and programs, so that's down a little bit there, about $75,000. We move on to BAMS. BAMS has basically a level services budget, but within BAMS is the one basic request for reinstatement, I would call it, of a teaching position. 3 or 4 years ago, at budget considerations, we reduced the social studies staff we have 4 teams. Of course, we reduced it to 3, and we are at the point now where census-wise, it's prudent to replace that position, which was eliminated 2 or 3 years ago. So that is the primary change there, but in looking through and comparing all those departments to all the way back 4 or 5 years ago, their discretionary spending is still about the same as it was 5 years ago, and things have definitely gone up since then, so that's a great job there. The Career Center down just a little bit. We reviewed all the programs, and we take a look at each program. Is it still appropriate for the kids have an interest in it? Is it doing what we need to do to prepare our kids for the jobs that are out there? And we review all the programs and make some adjustments here and there. We have not added any major expenses there. Within the programs, we added an EMT program in that comes under the which strand?
Protective Services.
Protective Services strand. A sports management program, and also expanded the dance program. These are highly sought after programs for the kids. So, but the Career Center budget is still down a little bit. So moving to the subtotal operating budget, the overall increase is less than 1%, $241,000, and that's after a good deal of combing through the budget, challenging the budget, and coming up with what we feel is, and we support as a board, a really solid operating budget. I guess I'd let Jim comment on the revenue side and the fund requests.
Okay, the overall revenue budget, as Woody mentioned with the expenses, the revenue budget is increasing by 0.65%. It's a little under $179,000. The revenue budget in the annual report is on pages 40 through 42. Some of the large items included there is an $800,000 credit on the bond payment for FY15. It's a one-time payment. That'll be included in the revenue for FY15. We have a decrease in special ed federal revenue, as well as Title I federal revenue. An overall small decrease in state funding. And in addition to that, $750,000 of the accumulated fund balance will be applied to reduce taxes. $150,000 would go to the Capital Reserve Fund. That's under Article 8, the approval vote. And $600,000 would be applied to the general operating budget to reduce taxes for FY15. At this point, the district set up an education fund back a number of years ago. The balance in that fund at this point is $2,114,752, and we are requesting to deposit an additional $191,957 into that fund. The total would be a little over $2.3 million. The fund balance, or the education fund, is critical for planning as far as taking care of cash flow issues with operating expenses during the year, unexpected one-time expenses, as well as applying some of that money towards some capital expenses in the future, and also to try to balance the impact on the state education funding. As everyone here realizes, the funding formula, there's so many variables that makes it pretty complicated. There are many variables that change the tax impact to each of the 5 communities, whether that's equalized pupil counts, the base tax rate that the state sets, which projected for FY15 is going to be $1.01. That's a 7-cent increase over the current year. The base education payment amount is a factor in the tax rate. And in the annual report on pages 86 and 87, those 2 pages, there's a summary that goes through, it says 3-year comparison. It's very small font, and I've got 9 years listed, or 8 years listed. So sorry about the small font, but the second page of that actually gives the tax impact for the 5 communities. And in the middle of the page, you can see Brattleboro, Dummerston, Guilford, Putney, and Vernon. It lists the preliminary tax calculated, the common level of appraisal for each community, the projected FY15 tax rate, the rate for FY14, and then the increases in the base rate. And the increases for the 5 communities in the base rate range from Brattleboro going up just a little under 5 cents, Dummerston an increase of 8 cents, Guilford a decrease of 2.7 cents, Putney an increase approximately 4.4 cents, and Vernon is level at this point. So for revenue over the past 3 years, really there haven't been many, if any, new sources. We did get some education jobs money when the president had the stimulus program. We did receive some federal money at that point, additional federal money. But for the last few years, everything is turning back, and really there are no new sources. So the board had to go through, the committee, the finance committee had to go through the budget, review items in conjunction with the administration to hold the budget down to as little increase as possible, and then try to come up with a plan to fund it. Just going back to that education reserve balance for a minute, the $2.3 million, it may sound like a lot, but when you have a $27 million total budget of debt service, it really isn't. Potentially in a given year, you could have major unanticipated expenses. Certain things obviously are covered by insurance. Some things aren't. We've been, I feel, relatively lucky at the high school over the past probably five years as far as special ed spending. The trend has been to educate more students in-house. There have been fewer out-of-district placements, which has decreased expenses. So if there are any questions, I'll try to answer.
Any questions? Well, we will take it up with hopefully a large share of the district voters next week, and go from there. And I just again want to thank the those that put so much work into this, the administration and their staff as well, our board committees, which there were quite a few meetings, and it was a pretty thorough going through, particularly on the operating side, and I appreciate the effort, and I think we have a sound budget.
Can you say the date?
What?
Say the date.
Oh, the date is February 11th, which is next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Thank you. Here at BUHS in the gymnasium. Okay. Anything else for the budget? If not, we can move on to the next items in the meeting. Papers reorganized here. And we'll move to the clerk's report and start with the approval of minutes for January 6th. Is there a motion?
I move approval of the minutes, January 6th.
Second. Oh,
Moved by Ruth, seconded by, we'll give it to Melanie. Post. Okay. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections to the January 6th minutes? I'm waiting a minute to see if we have.
Were they emailed with the agenda?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Tim.
technical. I moved this, but I was not at that meeting, so I'm not sure I should have moved it.
You can move it.
You can move
Oh,
it,
okay.
you just get you off the abstain.
Okay, okay. All right, I wasn't sure on it.
Okay. No. Thank you, Jim.
Wednesday?
What's that?
Wednesday morning?
Wednesday morning, yes.
Yeah, that's a question mark.
Yeah,
On the weather?
Sean and I want to talk about Wednesday
Who's afraid
morning.
of a little snow? Okay, we'll talk about it. I can't wait for it to snow. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 3 abstentions. Only Ricky and Ruth. Okay. Communications. I have a couple that were given to me, unless now that you're here you wanted to.
Nope, that's fine.
do those. Okay. I have 2 communications, and these are first from Maureen McDonald, and it says, "Hi Ron, I'm writing this to let you know I will be resigning from my job as school nurse at the end of this school year. It is with mixed emotions I decided to leave my job that I've enjoyed for the past 19 years, and I will certainly miss many aspects of it. Life does move on so fast, though, and I am eager to start this next phase. Thanks for your support of school nursing over the years. Sincerely, Maureen McDonald, RN." Do we want to just vote on that right now while we've got it in front of us?
So you'd be voting to accept the...
Accept the resignation with
I move that we accept the resignation of
Maureen McDonald.
Maureen McDonald with regret.
Second.
Seconded by Lori. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none, we have accepted that resignation. Secondly, a letter, "Dear Mr. Staley, I have been teaching at Brattleboro Union High School for many years, and these years have flown by. It's a great school with wonderful kids, an impressive curriculum, and a talented, committed faculty that I have been proud and happy to be a member of. It is now time for a change. The purpose of this letter is to inform you that I will retire on June 30th, 2014. Thank you for all the work you and the central office team do that makes it possible to do what we do in the classroom. Sincerely, Kathleen Whalen, Kit Whalen." Okay. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the resignation of Kathleen Whalen with regret.
Second.
Sean got that And that modern and classical languages one. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Or no vote?
I voted in favor.
Oh, you did, okay. Hand just didn't vote
We-
for it.
we both
Okay.
did.
All right, it is unanimously accepted with regret. Okay. Are there any other communications? Or anything else for the clerk's report? Recognition of groups and individuals? We have a visitor.
Hi, I'm Olga with the
Olga,
Commons.
yeah. All right, so we're here to catch up on the budget? Okay. Next, consent agenda. Is there a motion to move into consent agenda?
So moved.
Ricky moves and
I second. Dang it.
Russ just can't get one tonight. Melanie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? If not, we are in consent agenda. So buckle your seatbelts because we're at the finance report and it's been a while since we reported out warrants and Ruth is raring to go.
Okay, please bear with me. We have a lot of these. We've been busy with budget work and haven't done warrants for a while. So the warrants that were approved for, I believe it was November 20th, numbers 1095, 1097, 1100, 1101, 1102, 1103, 1104, 1105, 1106, 1107 in the amount of $283,032.16. Then on December 4th, we approved warrant numbers 1108, 1111, 1112, 1113, 1114, and 1115 for a total of $433,260.55. And on December 18th, we approved warrants 1116, 1117, 1118, 1121, 1122, 1124, 1125, 1126, and 1127 for a total of $170,216.54. Then on January 8th, we met and we approved warrants 1129, 1130, 1133, 1134, 1135, 1136, 1137, and 1138, the amount of $506,422.27. And on the 22nd of January, we approved warrant numbers 1140, 1141, 1143, 1144, 1145, 1146 for a total of $175,206.63. We also approved payroll of December 13th in the amount of $483,889.35, and payrolls of December 27th in the amount of $493,471.64. And then we also, on November 4th, payroll of $487,753.60. November 15th, payroll of $582,507.05. And November 27th, payroll of $489,169.68, and I'm out of breath.
Thank you. That's a wonderful job.
If anything else happened at this meeting worthy of note, someone else on the committee can talk about that.
Our next meeting will be this Wednesday.
Maybe.
Maybe, we're going to talk about that. We could put that off if the blizzard of 2014 arrives as projected. Okay. Planning and policy.
Has not met since the last meeting.
Teacher curriculum.
Also has not met since the last meeting.
BAMS committee.
Also has not met since the last meeting.
WRCC committee.
Also has not met since the last meeting.
I was seeing if Ricky was just going to keep on going.
No, I didn't know that.
And anything else under consent?
I can, if you want, I can report the SU Finance Committee met last week, I guess it was, and just approved warrants. And we'll be looking at some insurance bids, negotiations on legal services, and a couple of support staff agreements coming up. I can tell you when the next meeting is. Wednesday, February 26th is the next meeting at 5:30 in central office, if anyone is interested.
Is it possible we would be on the distribution list of the agenda for that meeting?
Can we do that, Ron?
I'm sorry.
I think Lori just asked if the board could be on the distribution list. Oh, actually, we don't get the agendas mailed out in advance. We've just been getting the agendas when we get to the meeting, and then posted or when what's coming up. So we actually don't get things in advance.
For the finance.
For the SU
For the main
finance.
agenda, for the main regular meeting, we do get.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But you happen to know the agenda in advance this
That's
meeting?
we went. I mean, one of our agenda items was upcoming business items, and that was what was handed out there.
Okay.
So, if you'd like to
Okay.
see that,
Thanks.
there it is. And you can ask Ron and Jim if you want another electronic copy of that.
Okay.
The only copy I have is that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Lori, and seconded by Ricky. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, it is approved. And we move to administrative reports. And we'll start in alphabetical order.
Ah,
Does anybody know which would be first?
This is good.
Is that by first name or last name?
By school.
By school or administrator.
I have my middle initial.
Should we go by height? Let's start by height. Well, let's start with Michael.
So we have a few items to share with you. The first one is that I'd like to share that our forestry class attended the Champlain Valley Forestry Farmers, farm show last week in Essex, Vermont. And we actually placed 2 first places with, actually, no, I'll take that back, 3 placements with Sam Rushton first place, Oscar Smith second place, and Corey Nystrom, which is not, he was a student with us last semester from one of our sending schools, and he is not this semester, but attended the farm show and placed 3rd place also. And what that consists of is students bring local farm products to the expo, such as syrup, hay, corn, baked goods, etc., to showcase their talents. So that's very neat. The second item, this Thursday we will be testing 60 seniors in the Career Center, and that will consist of our Southern Regional Education Board initiative that we'll be taking on next school year. And this gives us a overall reading of how our teachers are doing. If we're not assessing the students, we're assessing the school and our curriculum. And we'll get data within the next 3 months back from SREB stating where we are and where we need to grow in our academics. So it's a great assessment tool that we'll be looking at and be using in our staff meetings for professional development over the next 5 or 10 years, hopefully, to improve upon academics.
So this establishes the baseline.
Exactly.
Work.
Yes. Thirdly, I don't know if Ingrid will be talking about this, but tomorrow we'll have 140 8th graders from BAMS touring the Career Center programs, and our student ambassadors will be headlining and taking on the role of showing the students all of our programs that we have to offer here at the Career Center. So we want to show the younger grades what's available to them at the Career Center and get them hopefully excited about school, those less reluctant learners, to tie them in at an early age. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Mr. Perrin.
I think Chris goes before parent. Yes, sir. Look up. We've had a ton of things going on at the high school. Last Wednesday, we welcomed the parents from the class of 2018 for 8th grade parent orientation. And very enthusiastic parents, a lot of great questions about programs, a lot of excitement about the upcoming academies that are getting launched next year. And the parents were full of questions. It was great to see. That does kick off our scheduling process for next year. We're beginning that tomorrow with our faculty, updating them on the changes to the program of studies. Then an advisory over the next few weeks, we'll begin the process of making students familiar. We'll do scheduling online as we have done for the past few years. And then on February 25th, we'll have a parent scheduling night so parents can come and actually talk to the school counselors to get a sense of what the best choices would be for their student next year. We did that last year for the first time, and it was very successful. And so we're excited to try that again. In final practical arts, the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards were announced, and we have got several winners. In the Art Awards, winning the prestigious American Visions Award, we have Carrie Potter Earl and Phoebe Wolfman. We have Silver Key winners, Liam Reynolds, and honorable mentions for Emma Baldoff, Carolyn Curvo, Dimitri Dodge, Sally Fletcher, Maddie Garfield, Nina Goodhue, Tylen Carrault, Serena Pellerin, Stella Silverman, Cassie Strange, and Camille Villeneuve. And all of those are in, except for one, are in photography, which is a tribute to the work that Dave Mazur was doing, bringing our photography program into the 21st century and beyond. If you're walking down the Green Mile on the first floor, you get a chance to look at the photography that the students have done. They've done some amazing stop-action work, and they've staged some beautiful photos. In English, we also had two winners. Kayla Boyd is a Gold Key winner, and Simon Reynolds won in poetry, got an honorable mention in poetry. So we're very proud of all the students and the teachers. Moving on to music, this year we're going to see the musical The Boyfriend. The cast and orchestra have been rehearsing since we got back from vacation, and it looks like it's going to be a fun show. It's going to run February 13th through the 15th. Tickets will go on sale next week in the main office, or they can be purchased at the door. And we're very excited for that. There is not going to be a Saturday matinee. They stopped that a few years ago. People asked about that. There'll be a 4 o'clock show on Thursday, and then 7 p.m. shows on Friday and Saturday. Along with that in music, 17 BUHS musicians have been selected for ensembles in the Connecticut River District Winter Festival to be held next Monday and Tuesday in White River Junction. These students auditioned in early December, and they'll be working in high school chorus, high school jazz band, and also some middle school students as well. But I'm not going to steal anybody's thunder, though I just did. Our Costa Ricans had a wonderful time. They were here for 2 weeks, and that exchange culminated with them presenting a program of dances last Friday. And they presented dances and a little bit more about Costa Rican culture, and a farewell dinner on Saturday night. And we look forward to returning the visit to them in April. Maggie Cassidy was selected as an honoree for Project Ignite, which is a technology and education program, and she'll be honored as a Vermont Ignited Educator. In March, the Capitol Plaza, VitaLearn and the ASCD will have a luncheon in her honor, and this is intended to celebrate educators, administrators, and technology integrators who promote transformative and innovative practices in their school. And the work that Maggie and the rest of the Modern and Classical Language Department has done using iPads and we all remember OPIs and the tape recorders, those are gone. It's all done on iPads now. They're doing audio blogs as well as written blogs in Modern and Classical Language. And a lot of that's spearheaded by Maggie's hard work. So kudos to her. Last but not least, Brattleboro Union High School has received a $10,000 personal learning plan grant. We are required in 2 years to begin doing personal learning plans for all students. And we're very excited that we're going to use this to jumpstart personal learning plans next fall with 9th graders. And so we'll be doing that in coordination with BAMS and the 7th and 8th graders from Putney and Dummerston as well. And a huge thank you to Nancy Johnston and Gina Honorata for their work getting that ready. So that's a big deal for us. We're very excited to see that process begin here at the high school.
Is that a state grant as part
That
of
is a state grant.
Senate
Yep.
program to get
We're one
the
of-
LP going?
We're one of 13 schools to get the grant. And that's it.
Okay.
Steve, what was you said in the first batch of award-winning art projects, all but one were photography. What was the other one?
It was for comic art.
Comic art.
Yeah. So.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. Central office.
Look what I did. I'm going to wait for my report until further on the agenda, so I would recommend that we go over to the BAM's report at this
Okay,
point.
I'll take that recommendation to heart and move on to Ingrid. Sorry, Ingrid.
No, I need to get back to that. Well, we've had many awards recently as well, and it just speaks so well of this entire District 6 set of schools, and you hear about the awards that our children are bringing back. Also, Scholastic awards in the field of writing for us. One silver award went to Julia Bellion, grade 7, on Team Canis Major, and 2 honorable mentions, both 7th graders, Ruby Diamondstone and Corey Choke Sten, who's a new student to us, actually, within the past week. In addition, our math counts team, under the direction of Peggy Maxfield, participated in the regional competition this past weekend. As a team, they came in second in the regionals, and in the individual competition, Reese Glennon took first among all the students and schools participating. So they will participate at the state level competition coming up in April. They have done very, very well as a group under Peggy's direction. Michael already brought up the fact that our building is going to be so quiet tomorrow because they're all going to be over at the careers. Half of them will be at the Career Center. And it's one piece of the collaboration that Michael and I have been working on this year to generate interest and connection between BAMS and the Career Center. We've been working on designing a course for next year that would be available to our 8th graders. We're getting closer to the design of the course. We have revamped our master schedule at BAMS to match when the course could be taught at the Career Center. And I'm very excited about that. Recently, Michael also offered us the opportunity to have some 8th graders participate in a STEM course being offered this semester, and we're going to put our heads together this week to Ms. Curry and the counselors and I to see if we can't make this happen for some 8th graders. I'd very much like to see that happen, and if we can, we will absolutely work with them again on that. But it's a great collaboration that is beginning at the moment, and the foundation is being set, I think, for a longer connection between BAMS and the Career Center. We're also in the beginning stages of our transition process. We transition students into 3 grades every year, from 6 to 7, from 7 to 8, and from 8 to 9, in collaboration with the sending schools and the receiving school. Next week we go to Vernon to meet with the parents of the 6th graders. We'll be touring all of the elementary schools' 6th grade classrooms within the next few weeks, meeting with those students there, which includes Oak Grove Academy, Green Street Schools in Brattleboro, Guilford Central School, and Vernon Elementary School. In addition, we have students this time of the year coming to tour from St. Michael's, from Dover, from others of the independent schools in our area. We have parents coming for tours to visit. It's great to talk with them too. Our BEAMS assembly is scheduled for Wednesday of this week. We're already making plans for it to occur on Thursday if it's necessary. But it does launch our 3rd and 4th sessions of the year, this assembly, and it serves to engage a lot of kids and interest them in signing up for our BEAMS program. So it's an essential piece of the BEAMS program. Last Thursday evening, we had our 2nd BEAMS family night of the year. We had over 100 parents there. They're always so well attended. The kids showcase the work that they've done in their BEAMS activities and clubs. Then we showcase what's coming up. The Foods Club always makes food of some international variety. And this year our Asian Studies program teacher participated in making food for the family night, and so well attended.
What time is that on Wednesday?
Well, if it's on Wednesday, it's at 2 o'clock.
Okay. And you have a fallback date on?
Thursday at 2:30. Yeah. Just in case.
Yep.
We don't know, but we need to have the assembly. That's the important thing. And we really can't wait until Friday, because it means kids leave for the weekend without us knowing what they have signed up for their clubs. And parents have to sign, give permission. So it means that come Monday, if they go home with it on Friday, we don't really know who to expect in Monday's clubs if we wait until Friday for the assembly. So we do need to have it on Thursday, if not Wednesday. We also have our honors party after school on Wednesday, which we do at the end of each quarter for all students who have made regular honors or higher honors, and many local community businesses and organizations have donated goods and services that students can win with raffle tickets at the honors parties. So it's very well attended, and it's an ice cream social for the kids. We do that 3 times a year at the end of each of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd quarters of the year. We don't bring them back in the summer for the 4th quarter. Our 3rd dance is Friday night. I think we're going to get it in Friday night. Our last dance was only a month ago, but that was a reschedule because of weather. But we are scheduled. And this dance is also the opportunity for the parent council to meet in the evening. It will be our 3rd evening parent council meeting at their suggestion and request, and they've been pretty well attended, actually. And we've had 3 daytime parent council meetings this year as well. And they've been well attended, and it's been good conversation, good feedback from parents and to us, and conversation with parents about what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing and how we do things. So it's been very nice. And we are also gearing up for the personal learning plan work that Steve mentioned. This is a new rule change via the State Board of Education that is intended to take effect, I think, in June of 14, to begin gearing up next year, the 14-15 school year, that all schools will have to give serious attention to. And so there's a learning curve, clearly, for teachers and students around this concept of personal learning plans. All right, I think that's about it. Yes?
I noticed that both of you mentioned the STEM Academy and science, engineering, and technology and mathematics. So you also have an academy in the BAMS?
We don't have an academy as formal as what you hear from the high school and the Career Center, certainly, but several of our BEAMS clubs, we have categorized our BEAMS clubs and activities by industry or category, and we have a category of STEM activities through that. But this particular course that I referenced is a course that the Career Center currently offers, and there may be an opportunity for some of our 8th graders to join it this semester.
So the STEM is really universal among
Yes.
all the campuses? Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and that's a relatively new development, isn't it? The STEM, the idea of STEM or not?
Well, I'd like Michael to talk a little bit about the pre-tech STEM program
Okay.
that we developed.
Yeah, last year we introduced a new pre-tech STEM course for freshmen only. And it covers a nice array of science, technology, math, but with a focus of robotics. Our Amy Anthony, one of our STEM teachers, teaches the class. And it's really hands-on type of elective class that will energize the freshmen to hopefully want to pursue one of our STEM academies that we have available next year for the kids. And so I've offered to Ingrid this year. We have a little bit of a flexibility in our schedule this semester to get the 8th graders excited about it before next year.
And Amy has actually worked with our BEAMS program in the past as a co-teacher with our STEM teacher, Daisy Fredericks, and they have a really nice working relationship with each other. And Amy does great with middle school kids as well.
Is the class that you're expecting to develop for next year of the STEM ilk, or fine performing visual arts, or more of a broad-based
More of the STEM engineering.
STEM engineering? Okay.
And I think also at the same time that we would attempt to introduce them to the categories of offerings that the Career Center does provide for students, so that they can begin to think about that earlier in their educational career, and use that as a focus, hopefully, for that connection between what they're learning in the middle school and what it can connect them with in the real world.
I think we've been talking about more of exploratories for the middle school to get into some of the topics that Ingrid just mentioned that Michael has in the Career Center. So
The STEM academies will have, at the high school and the Career Center will have 2 strands. One strand will be a biomedical, and then the other strand will be a more traditional engineering. And within those, there's required courses they take, and then there's elective courses that they would take as well. And then each of those strands also has a requirement that students attend and participate in a certain number of seminars throughout their time in high school and document their work.
Seminars outside of the school?
Seminars, a combination, some outside the school and some are guest speakers that we'll have come in from the community, from local businesses, to kind of share, how science, technology, engineering, and math shape their day. And then the Fine and Visual Performing Arts Academy will have 4 strands. It'll have a performing arts strand for dance. It'll have a digital design and communication strand. It'll have a fine arts strand, and a music strand which will have subdivisions of vocal and instrumental. So,
It sounds phenomenal.
Well, the nomenclature of academy, does that mean it's within the regular school day? And so it's just a certain courses in the STEM program?
right.
Be in a STEM academy?
Right. There's certain courses that you'll take that are required courses. They'll have students in those as well who are not part of the academy as well.
Right.
Now down the road, once these become more popular, we'll have to either create additional sections, or we'll have to think about, what does it mean to be in the academy. Some departments have already talked about having elective courses. For example, an English course that's devoted to robotics and the study of artificial life, through literature. So hopefully,
Biomedical writing.
right.
Yeah.
So hopefully, we'll begin to do more of that as this matures. But you don't. The academy is not self-contained within the school, right?
So if you remember with the collegiate high school offerings, there's strands, and that's similar to the Career Center, where you'll have a business strand, you'll have a STEM strand, and I think this is kind of the next progression for students that really are focusing in this area. But I think it is important to note that a student doesn't have to be signed up for the academy. They can take classes. And as we've seen, the junior and senior year, a lot of kids are getting college credit for these courses, and that would be the case in these academies or strands. So.
May I ask about how it's going to look with the existing departments within the school? What is the communication going to be, or what is the participation going to be between, say, the music department as it exists and the music academy?
Well, for example, within music, what they're going to do is they're going to have within band and chorus, they're going to have honors. So like we do with foreign language, within those courses, there'll be additional coursework for honors students. And they'll be an honors band, honors chorus. They're required to audition for all states and for districts as well. And then to take certain elective courses, in instrumental, it's going to be jazz band, magicals for vocal. So, does that answer your question?
I think so. I'm going to give it some thought.
Sure.
And I think we'll probably do more of an overview as the program of study gets rolled out. Parent orientation would be nice to have some of the teachers come and present the information.
Be a good board education topic.
Yeah.
Russ?
Yeah, my question is whether the two of you would like to talk about the presentation of the Hungry Heart last week.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
This is
So last Friday, Mary Ann Kinney and Lauren Petrie, our middle school and high school student assistance staff, were able to secure two showings of the movie The Hungry Heart by Bess O'Brien. And I'll let Ingrid talk about the middle school showing, but at the high school, we had a pretty good audience, despite the fact there are several other demands in the time. And the film is the story of a Vermont community that has been racked by prescription drug abuse, and one doctor, his journey to help save young adults one person at a time. It really highlights the idea of the power of communication and the power of talk, and the idea that continual attention, continual visits really help people change their lives. And I'm really not doing the film justice. I mean, it was a powerful movie. And I saw it at the Latches when it came out the first time, but then seeing it again at the high school just kind of underscores the importance of that film. And it was more engrossing the second time. It was great. And then I had to leave for the basketball game, but I didn't stay for the discussion, but I'm assuming it was pretty rich. Yeah.
So we had a school-wide assembly in the auditorium at 1 o'clock on Friday, and we left the auditorium at about 2:30. And in that 90 minutes that we were there, we showed 25 minutes of the film, and that was a strategic decision to show the 25 minutes that we showed. We started the film, went about 14 minutes, and then picked up another 11 minutes into it. I had watched the film prior to showing it and felt that showing the entire film to the middle school wasn't the best way of using it as a catalyst to have conversation in a positive way with kids about the disease of addiction and the culture of addiction and the preventative approaches that they could learn. So, as I say, we showed about 25 minutes of the film. Bess O'Brien, the director, was down, as she was for the high school showing, along with one of the individuals in the film. Her name is Raina, and she was one of the people from St. Albans that was profiled in the film. She is in recovery, has been for 3 years now. The conversation amongst the middle schools was chilling in its power and substance. It started with one of our 7th grade boys, right after the viewing stopped. He put his hand up, was called on, and he said to Bess and Raina, "I want to thank you both for coming down here and sharing your film with us. It allows us to talk about addiction, and it was a very courageous move on your part." This is 7th grade boy saying this. And it was chilling just to hear that. And the room was silent, and it remained silent throughout the 60 minutes of questions and responses that occurred among the kids. There were a few adult questions from the staff, but mostly it was the kids asking questions and making comments. It did exactly what we wanted it to do, to have a positive conversation, a public conversation in a positive way about the topic of the disease of addiction. The film was very powerful. We own it now, and so it's available for use. Our kids then went back to their advisories, and they continued the conversation with their teacher advisors after that, and that was planned as well. After we ended the assembly, Bess, the director, invited kids to come down and talk to her or Raina individually if they wanted, at which point I asked the counselors to stay behind and walk back to the middle school with them when they were done. But they were able to then determine which kids were having personal conversations, and now they can follow up, with those children too. So it was a really powerful, I'm sorry I forgot to mention that because it was quite poignant, the entire assembly.
Well, I'd like to follow up in terms of the Q&A. The impact that the middle school had on both Bess and Raina was pretty profound. They both were totally blown away by the attention and the maturity and the seriousness of the kids. And I know Raina said that afterwards, Bess said, if any kids wanted to talk to Raina, and Raina, didn't expect, and then she said there was a line of like a dozen kids waiting to talk to her. And it speaks really well for the movie and for Bess and for Raina and for the atmosphere at BAMS that kids feel comfortable to do that. So I don't know if that's if an in and I understand and support your editing of the film. It was a very powerful film, and whether in the high school, whether it would be as effective or not. One issue that came up in the Q&A, which would be a budgetary question, was whether the drug counseling should be beefed up in the future in terms of the time. And you guys would know best about the effectiveness of putting resources into beefing up that. But it was a really it was a great movie and a great discussion afterwards. And as they say, BAMS and the BAMS kids got a rave review. Good one.
Very impressive they were.
And thanks for bringing it.
Okay, thank you. And you're going to save your comments till
Under new
business? Okay. Board chair, I just would report that I was invited and attended the Brattleboro Town Finance Committee meeting last Friday afternoon, and spent some time with the Town Finance Committee reviewing the budget in similar fashion to what we've done here tonight. And they had some questions and comments related primarily to use of the various funds, and I followed up with some questions to Jim, but that was an opportunity to kind of go over with the Town Finance Committee what our BOHS budget looks like, although everybody is aware that the BOHS budget affects more than just Brattleboro, but they wanted to get up to speed and ask some questions on that. That's all I have, and I guess that takes care of administrative reports. So we'll move on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? If not, we'll move on to new business. And Ron has,
You have copies of these?
probably want to assign the motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as we do each year prior to the annual meeting, there'll be a number of motions that board members have identified that they would read the motion, explain the motion if needed, and then keep the meeting going that way. If do all of you have your budget, the larger budget copies? If you turn to page 8 on that document, these are last year's motions, articles, and so I'm just going to go through the current year and match them with last year's. So under Article 1, move that the report of the district officers be accepted. We had Sean be assigned to that motion. If you want to do that, Sean, that'd be great.
We'll get a card, I mean.
Yeah, we'll have the information printed out for you.
In big letters.
We'll wing it.
And this is a nice preview for the public on these motions that they'll be participating with on February 11th, next Tuesday at 7 p.m. So Article 2 was to nominate a moderator, and I actually called for nominations for that, and Michael Collier, you made the motion for that. So Mike, you want to continue with that? Great. Article 3, to nominate a clerk. Ricky, you had done that?
Yep.
And so that's to nominate a clerk to serve for the ensuing year. Bob Nowakowski from our office has served in that capacity. Article 4, Laura, you had nominated Jim Kane as treasurer.
Is he the nomination for this year?
He is the nomination for this year.
For the full year?
For the year ending
Ensuing.
June 30th.
The ensuing year.
So are you up for that, Laura?
Sure.
Okay. And Article 5, to nominate the auditor. Marshall Wheelock looks like he'll be nominated as auditor. And Russ, you had done that last year.
I think I can handle that
Do
one.
that. Okay. And then the board needs to authorize to employ a certified public accountant to pay the auditor. And Russ, I think you did the combination on those.
Two in a row is a burden,
Two in a
but
row.
I'm willing to share that.
Don't be late. Article 7 was to issue vouchers for payment of its offices. And to the clerk, a sum of $200, and the directors, a sum of $2,000, with the chair being an additional $1,000. And Ricky, it seemed like you had made that motion. Are you good with that?
Sure.
And that was quite a controversial discussion last year.
Yeah.
And the chair broke down his hourly rate. I think it turned out to be 37 cents an hour that you get paid.
Scandalous.
Maybe it was 67, I'm not sure. I think it was 37. So it was quite informative.
Oh, yeah, that one.
That one, yeah. Now, last year we had the capital improvement reserve, and that was Article 8. Bob, you had done that one?
And we are moving to, again, deposit 150,000.
For future capital improvements for the district. And then Article 9, that is the portion of the unassigned, unreserved, and unrestricted fund balance for the year ending June 30, 2013, in the amount of 600,000 to defray expenses for the FY 2015, so to defray taxes.
So last year, 8 and 9 was 8 was establishing the fund, and 9 was putting the 150 in.
Right.
Right.
Two separate
Right.
motions.
No, Ruth had the putting the 150 in, you had the establishing, so I don't know if Ruth's willing to give up her 150,000 motion or not.
Doesn't
I'll let
matter
Ruth
to
speak for
me.
herself.
Are you sure?
This is going to take number 9.
Ruth, you're on 9?
Oh, I'll do 9.
Okay. And then 10, is that a combination? Yes, there's Lori, last year it was 10 to authorize transfer and deposit into the education reserve fund. And in this case, it is the
600.
It was 11, now it's 10. Okay.
yes, it's Article 10, 191,957.
I could do that one again.
And then Article 11, the major budget item, $27,537,316 in order to defray its expenses and liabilities for the fiscal year 2014-15. Bob, you typically, as you have done tonight, done the overview of the budget and taken questions on that article, and Jim Kane, myself, members of the administration would be willing to speak to that article.
I hope so.
Okay? So you're good to make the
Yeah.
motion? Yep.
Did we skip 11?
What's that?
Did we skip 11?
Well, we don't have the
Don't
same,
have
we don't have that
It's
11
not
from
existing.
last year, right?
Yeah, the articles are a little bit different in terms of what's
Eight
printed from
is
last
here.
year.
Because last year we established the fund, so that's still.
Yeah, actually,
It's everything else.
thank you. If you go to page 12, you have comparison of the new articles. Great, thanks. And then Article 12, to accept, for the school directors, to accept and expend categorical grants received from the state or the United States government. That would be the state reimbursement, state aid, also the federal title programs, Title I, Title IIA. And
That one's mine.
that's yours. You're not giving that one up?
No, I like that one.
You like taking that money? Good. And then Article 13, the last one last year was to authorize the board, school directors to borrow money pending the receipt of payments from member districts. And looks like Melanie, who had done that last year, would do this one as well.
Yes.
Okay. And then other business, that's something that the moderator will ask if we have other business, and we certainly will have a few things that we need to present. Usually acknowledgements, that sort of thing. So does that cover all of the,
Ron?
And then I move to adjourn.
let me just ask you a question. Does that involve everyone here?
I was giving him one of mine if he feels the need to be included in meeting motions.
You have 4 and 10. You want to give up one in particular? Or?
I don't have a preference.
Well, let's give Ian number 10 then.
Okay.
He's not here to defend himself.
3 or 4 of them.
Give them all to him.
I'll give him the big budget one.
Okay. Did you have a question?
I was going to offer to give one of
Okay.
mine to you.
Okay, so those are the warning articles that will be, again, this coming Tuesday, February 11th at 7 p.m. Generally, the board will get there a little bit early, get organized, and hopefully it's well attended.
Thank you. Anything else? And there, I have one thing, so
I have
before
one.
you make your motion on the new business.
Want me to go first? You
Yeah,
want to
go ahead.
Vernon had a town-wide budget meeting. It was really well attended. We had standing room only. I copied off the budget appropriation summary sheet and the impact sheet on how it applied to the various towns, and I handed it out to everybody who came in. There must have been 200 people, maybe. Pretty crowded. But I really didn't know where to get a copy. Where should I, if a school board member, I wanted to do that in the future, I ended up going to the WSU.
These documents?
Yeah, I just wanted to copy just 2 or 3 pages so I could hand them out at the meeting. I didn't know the proper procedure, or should I go to the high school to get them?
These documents get delivered to all of the schools, and so they should have had these. So they may not have,
Well, it wasn't
they might have been
technically a
in the
school
office.
thing, it was more the selectmen was informed, the selectmen were informing, but I took the opportunity to show how our budget wasn't really impacted.
Yeah.
But I didn't know where to really get copies.
Yeah, the
Just-
smaller version too is a good one, that both would go to the schools and the town offices. And so anytime that we know that there's like a public meeting, it's important for the town people to know that these documents would be helpful. And then, whether you could make copies or just identify certain pages that they could refer to.
And so I pulled out 2 pages and made
Yeah,
copies.
yeah.
There's a lot of copies of this. I saw the boxes in the central office. Full of them. A huge number.
Recycling bins always get a workout after.
And the other thing is that they're on the website, our website as well. And so in some cases, you can just pull up the pages and then click them and have that capability.
Okay, just a couple of things. One is our next full board meeting. Normally, since we have the annual meeting, which will be a second meeting in February, we dispense with the second regular meeting, which also happens to be on a holiday. It would be this time around. So unless there are any cogent items that must be considered, we would not have a second regular meeting in February, and our first meeting would be, our first meeting in March would be on March 3rd.
At 7?
Yes.
That doesn't interfere with town meeting or anything.
Well, the Vernon Town meeting is at 6:30, I believe. Yeah, 6:30. And that generally happens that first Monday of March.
The next day's town meeting day.
And then town meeting is the next day.
Yeah. Yeah, if we
So
went-
it seems like, I haven't checked the history of this, but it seems like the BUHS board has met, and, whether the Vernon rep is down in Vernon that night.
It doesn't, I'm just curious, I mean, it doesn't, I'll work it out one way or the other. That's fine, so we're gonna go on the 3rd?
Let's plan on the 3rd. You can do shuttle diplomacy.
I might miss both.
Did you like that? Okay. And then one other quick item as it relates to the potential for weather on Wednesday. Maybe those of us that are on the finance committee could just hang out for a minute afterward and we'll talk about that, so we're not doing that. We don't need to do that in full group. Contingency plan. Okay, any other new business? If not,
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Second.
second, all in favor?
Third, oh.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
No.
Okay, thank you all very much.